I'm going to be showing you how to get started with Shaderhub, really, because I've noticed that there's quite a few new users, or not loads, but people are coming and starting to use the site, which I'm happy about. But I realise I'm probably leaving them in the lurch because maybe the instructions on how to get set up aren't good enough. So, for instance, this guy here, he's managed to upload a file, and he's got all this shader details there, which is pretty good. But if you look in the render, okay, the render doesn't work yet. So basically what you need to learn to do is how to configure the shaders to kind of recognize this data. So to start with, I think I'm going to just show you how to sort of get the plugin set up, and then I'll do another tutorial on how to configure the shaders. So if we just go to the home page, actually what we're doing. So there's some instructions here, but they're sort of handwritten, a bit hard to use. I've made a slight enhancement in that this script here, which I say used to kind of upload things. I've now also included a plugin which has a bit more of a GUI with it, which I'll add to the site after this video. So really all it does is at the bottom here there's this part here where you're supposed to put the name of your file and description and your secret GUID, which is normally only visible if you're logged in. So but it should be as part of your profile. So if you go into users, get this guy. So here he's got a user ID but no secret because he's not the logged in user. If I went to mine, you'd see it, but probably not supposed to share this. But there should be a secret number which looks a bit like that number. And essentially what you do now is that we have a plugin which should be in one of these panes here. I think it's in that one. And if you look here, there's now a plugin called Shaderhub, and this is the URL to which the data gets sent up to. So that should be coded in for you, but there's a default in there. I suppose it's just in case we decide to want to send it somewhere else, but probably you won't need to touch that. And then so here we've got file, description, secret, which are those three fields that I was talking about here. So instead of typing into the code, you can put them in the user interface thingamajig. And there's modes of uploading called overwrite and merge, and essentially what that means is generally, when you're uploading a file, you use overwrite. But the idea of merge is that you can kind of add new parts to your file without disrupting the rest of it. So if you want to add up another load of vertex data or some other kind of data, and you want to sort of include it in your original upload, you can put it up. I mean, the basic idea behind this script is to kind of try and be as general as possible. So, for instance, in this script, I go through and I upload the kind of the textures and the UV maps and the normals, but there's nothing to say that you couldn't be putting up sort of other things to do with particles or even animation data or anything you want. Really, basically everything's stored in the database as a sort of key value pair. And so what's on the right hand side is really up to you. I mean, it can accept, for instance, I'm using the same data structure here to upload the vertex shaders, which are text, really, as I am to upload this matrix data. So it can accept either kind of text data or kind of arrays of data, of numbers. as the right hand side. That's what it understands. There's no kind of hierarchical structure. It doesn't understand any of that. But if you want to put some JSON in there as text with some kind of descriptive configuration, which is exactly what I do on here when I configure the things, is if you look at I go in here and look at one of my files here, for instance, and this one's been configured already to render. So here at the bottom you've got shader bindings, and that's actually a description in JSON describing how the stuff connects to each other. So I use the same database key value pairs. There's nothing clever in the database. So it's really more hoping to be kind of general, and that you can put what you want in it, and it kind of serves for the future, where we want, should I want to add extra features like skinning or more complicated things, I don't have to change my database for every new thing I want to add up. I just need to change some front-end code to deal with it, and I can upload what I like. Also, when it comes to, at some point I want to have a scripting API, so from that point you should be able to utilize some of this other data. Like, for instance, animation data might be on a per frame basis, so you might want to update that stuff within your script, update some transforms or something to update animation, but obviously that's not in there yet. But I welcome anyone to experiment with that sort of thing if they want to try and improve this. Get this, just write a better script and put it up there with your file. So the first stage on getting set up then really is trying to install this, either install this plugin or use that script. But they're both dependent on this module called requests, which unfortunately doesn't come in Blender. So if I go to the scripting section here, so I've actually added requests. If I type import requests into there, it doesn't complain, but if you haven't got it, it will. So that's a good way to know, or a way to find out whether it's there or not. And there are two ways to add it. Essentially, assuming you've installed it for Python version 3.3, you can add it to your system path. So here I've done import sys and then sys path just to find out what my path is, but you can append new paths if you want to keep your request module outside of Blender, Blender's version of Python, but you still want to be able to access it. You can do it through there. Alternatively, you copy it into the Blender, the Blender Python area. So on my Mac, that's in Applications, Blender.app, Contents, macOS. The version of Blender, which is 2.69, Python lib. Version of Python 3.3, site packages, and then I've got this thing called requests, and if I do an ls in there, you can see that these are the various things that come in that package, and essentially it's responsible for sending up things to the internet. That's all I use it for anyway at the moment. Probably got more advanced stuff in there. It's also, depending on whether you've got a Mac or a PC, it's going to be slightly different how you install things. I mean, I use a thing called pip, it's like pip install or something, and the trouble is on this machine the default Python is 2.7 or 6 or something, and so you need to sort of use pip 3, so you need to be able to get a thing that will install for Python 3 and then install it on there. So it's a bit long-winded and complicated. Really, it's a bit of a shame. It's so difficult to install that module. And I think for a PC it's different. If I look down here onto the home page, there's a link on here to the requests installation. The request people and their installation guide here. So you've got this easy install if you're on a PC. I think. Anyway, it gives you various instructions on how to. So here we're using Python setup and install. What's that one? I don't know. Yeah, it looks like there's different kind of ways, but I would just kind of follow that, and eventually it should have a request installed. You might need to install pip as well if you want a Mac. And then when you type in here, you should be able to see that it exists. So you can add it to your path directly in Python before you use it, but then you have to do it each time, I think. Or you can change your system paths in your bash RC file or whatever kind of file you're using to configure things. And then down here, this is the plugin. So once you've got that working, you can install this plugin where you can either copy that code from the front page and just manually put your things in, and then that gives you the kind of opportunity to be able to play around with this script if you want and improve it. Or you can use this plugin, which is essentially the same thing as that, but it's got some extra UI added. So if we look at these are the files. Here's the path where you'd want to install it. So on the Mac, it's here: applications, Blender app, contents, macOS, blah blah 6, add-ons. So it's this add-ons folder, and then I've got this extra folder called Shaderhub. Oops, I accidentally clicked it. And so these are the scripts that I've added to. So essentially, if I do this, look at the init. This is the basic adding the user interface stuff to get just get it visible on the UI and sort of register the actual code that you want to run, and then this post JSON thing. What am I doing? That's fine. So this is actually the same script that the other one had. The only difference is obviously I've made a new method to pass in the URL and stuff from the interface, but essentially this kind of do posts thing. Essentially that's the same script though as that's on this page, so in terms of what it does, it should be the same. And I've got one other module which is just to basically check dependencies. So I use that to see if the request module exists or not on your system. So and so once you've copied, so I'll add a download link for this on the site. And once you've kind of installed requests and you've downloaded this Shaderhub add-on, then you basically just copy the Shaderhub folder with its contents into your add-ons folder, which is here, parent working directory. Yeah. So it should somewhere be slightly different on the Windows system. So you have to find out where your script add-on folder is within your Blender installation. So and that's the add-on. And if we look in here to add it into Blender, what you have to do is go into File, and you go to User Preferences, and you move along to the Add-ons tab here. And I think you can filter these. Like here I've just put it in a category called Shaderhub, so it hasn't got a subcategory, I think, but you see it pops up here. I've put a warning on there, and that's basically just to say that you need the request module. I don't know if it's a good idea because it might put people off installing it if it's got this warning. It works, assuming that if that works, if that exists. So I thought it was better to put it on, and essentially just tick that box, and that should add the module in. If the module doesn't show up in the list, it means that you haven't. I think you might need to hit refresh here, and that will refresh the list, and that means it will go through your add-ons folder, and because if you look in your add-ons here, see there's loads of other different kinds of add-ons for different sort of things, exporting scenes in various formats and mesh things, and I don't know really what they are, but probably worth looking at actually. Basically most of the Python modules that are added add-ons are in here. So that's pretty useful. And so once you've done that, then if you look down into, you have to go into the third one along, the scenes tab, and then somewhere on here you'll have a section called Shaderhub, and that's where you have those things. And once you've got the data, just put the file name and a description, and then your secret code, which you'll have to get off the website, which will be some kind of funny looking number type thing with basically a globally unique ID, which they're usually quite big numbers, but they should be globally unique. That's the idea. Leave it on overwrite, hit upload, and then once that's done, that your object should show up in the list here. If you go to your, I won't go to mine because I think I'm logged in. But it will come up in this list here. It won't be configured yet, but you'll have the data on the website. In the next tutorial, I'm going to go through actually how to configure your data once it's up. Okay, thanks then, bye.